Hello, and welcome to another episode of the M42 Adventures podcast. I am your host, Rick Trimmer, and today we're going to do something a little different. We actually have a few of my partners in the studio. We've got Joshua and Spencer, so it's going to be us three recording here today, and we're going to talk about past experiences. In this 2024 year, we had 4 experiences with M42 Adventures. We had Hawaii, Alaska, Utah, and Africa. And we want to just talk about those and our experiences and, some of the stories from those. We'll see where it goes. Don't really have an agenda on this one or a outline, just going to kind of jump into it and talk about, why we started M42 Adventures, what it's meant to us, what this year has done for us, and, just have some conversations on that. So we're excited. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Genesis, which is coming out here on September 1st. And also what that, is going to entail and why we're excited for that as well. So let's jump into this conversation with Spencer and Woody and hope you enjoy it. For those people who are listening, you guys are my partners on construction businesses, right? How long have you been with me, Spin?
14 years this year.
14 years. How long have you been?
7.
So, obviously I know you guys very well. I trust you, right? That's my number one thing with partners. And so this episode, I want to talk about I want to talk about the experiences we had this year with M42 Adventures, right? We did Alaska, we did Africa, we did Hawaii, and we did Utah, right? You guys came and went on some of those, not all of them. But I also wanted to get into a little bit of M42, what it means to you guys, to me. And so this episode's kind of a fun one, like I said, I do a lot of interviews with people that are either more serious or just not about us. And, it's about them, which is great. I love that part. But I wanted to have you guys on and talk about those things. So let's just jump into it. Basically, I came to you guys, the Story of M42, right? I had the idea for about a year or so before I mentioned it to anybody. I kind of got the idea when I was talking to Greg at Outdoor Solutions, right? I'm having him on Friday, where I saw what he was doing in life, right? He was traveling the world, hunting, bringing people out, showing them cool experiences. I went on a couple of his experiences or hunts. I went on a hunt in Texas, and then I went to his long range school, and I loved it. And I loved meeting the people. I loved seeing first-time hunters. It just touched me, right? And I was going to partner with him. You guys know the details, right? We were going to partner with him.
Right.
And then I ended up going traveling again. And I passed on it, right? I sent him a message and said, hey, man, it's not the right time. I still got a couple more years of travel left in me. And I left. And we did 2 more years of travel. We did 20, what year is it? 24? So we did 22 and 23 full time, me and my wife and kids. And, that's my number one priority. You guys know that, right? Is travel and my family. I love that. And Greg was disappointed. And I said, hey, I'll be back. And then so I started talking to Greg when I was in Scotland last year. And I kind of said, hey, man, I'm going to be coming back. We want to have another baby. And I've got something that I want to start and launch. And I talked to him first and just kind of mentioned it to him. And he's like, listen, I gave him a lot of ideas on what he should do with his business when I did bail. He's implementing them and doing other great things. And so he kind of said, hey, I'm good, for right now. Let me know what you get started, what you're doing, and maybe we can collaborate or something down the road. And so that's when I reached out to you guys. Said, hey, I got this idea. Reached out to Ryan Mickler, who's a partner with us. He couldn't make it here today. And said, hey, this is my idea. Basically want to get people traveling, experiencing the world, trying new experiences, not just hunting, right? But everything, outdoors, golf, right? Spin, you love golf. And you guys were in, right? And I appreciate that. That shows a lot of the faith you have in me, which I am very grateful for. Finding partners is not easy. People that you can work with. It's a marriage. It's even, I think, almost harder than a marriage because you're dealing with money and stress every day, which is
Right.
usually what breaks marriages,
Right.
finances. So the fact that you've been here for 14 years, the fact that you've been with me for 7, I am grateful for. I couldn't have gone and traveled, you were the OG, the first one there that let me go travel, right?
Right.
And I took off in January or February or March of 17 and left for years. And you held down the fort.
Yeah.
And became an owner at that time. I think your payments are almost done. Did you know that?
Yeah, they are.
Like
I think November.
right around the corner.
Yeah.
So you've been paying for 10 years?
No, since 17.
17. So
7 years.
7 years.
He bought ownership like right when I started.
Yeah. So that's awesome, man. We need to go celebrate and have dinner
exactly.
together, So I'm proud of you. I'm grateful for you. I'm proud of you. Woody, the same. I've seen where you've come and where you are now. I get a lot of people reaching out to me, your friends and family. We'll talk about the Alaska experience, which was most of your friends and family. And they kept saying, how did you get Woody to do this? How did you get Woody to focus and to work every day? Really, they did, like behind your back. They did.
Ooh, that's great.
They did. They says, we haven't seen this Woody before. And they were proud of you. They were like, this is, Woody, and you went to Alaska twice this year. You just got back from Africa a week ago. I know your history, I know your past.
I took the long, slow, hard road.
You did.
That's for sure.
You did. And I don't know what changed in you. I told him, I says, I don't know. I know that it was a lot religion and faith and hopefully friendships of good influences. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with. And I know the people you used to hang out with. And not that they're bad people.
Right.
I always say they were great people with bad habits.
Yeah.
But you're going to be pulled into those temptations, right? So, I wanted to kind of hear from you guys why, when I called you, why did you want to be a part of M42 Adventures? And, whoever wants to go first, let me know. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was, outdoors has always been my passion too. My whole mantra in life is work hard, play hard. You don't get anywhere without working hard, but you don't enjoy it if you don't play, because you need the stress relief too. So being involved outdoors, helping people, getting into different life skills, different activities. I love it, because that's what I do in my free time, is being out helping people already. Golfing a lot, fishing.
Yeah, you golf what do you still golf like every week?
I used to golf 3 times a week.
Wow.
3 to 4 times a week.
For years and years.
Yeah.
He says he helps other people, but I have not gotten any better since I've been golfing with him.
Yes, you have.
He gets you on the course, but maybe can't, you can only fix so much.
Yeah.
So.
I still try to golf a couple times a week.
Okay.
Yeah. So golf league just ended last night. So
bow hunting, I know you're huge into bow hunting, which you just did in Africa on our experience, and
that was a blast.
And there's an archery Utah hunt going. I haven't gone out yet. Have you gone out at all?
Oh yeah, every weekend.
I haven't gone out one day.
Going out tonight.
Awesome.
So last Wednesday went up to a private property up in Cedar.
Awesome.
Going again tonight.
Cool.
Going again Monday if we need to, or the whole weekend. But yeah,
that's awesome. I'm hoping to go this weekend, to get out there. I got my bow back yesterday. My 2007 bow. I had new limbs put on it because they were cracked, and so I just got it back yesterday, and I'm actually going to shoot it tonight and then go out this weekend. So, I love that. And that's, I knew when I called you guys, you were the right group. Not only because I trust you guys, that's my number one thing with partners, is making sure that I trust you, and but also that you guys are avid outdoorsmen and everything we do. It's not just, like I said, it's not a hunting brand, right? I know we do a lot of that because we are all very passionate about that, but golf, we're doing a surfing experience in Costa Rica next year. It's like, This is horses, right? We're doing a horse experience next year. We're doing UTVs next, an overnighter UTV experience. You guys love all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And we want to share it, right? What about you, Woody? Pretty much the same?
Yeah, I mean, I've my entire life hunted, and then you came to us with an idea where we could travel the world and hunt and do fun things. So it didn't take a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I think I will join your little party.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think, that the one thing that I think I always look at whenever I'm starting a new business, I try to think, what's my competitive edge, right? Like this is my 12th or 13th business that I've started or bought. And I always think, I usually don't try to start something. I started Undaunted Apparel as really a passion and didn't really have a competitive edge there necessarily. But that's really the only one. The other ones I had, Mexico with United Wood or just contacts or whatever. So I think what really made me think this was possible was having Ryan, right? We got Ryan Mickler as a partner. He's been in the podcast game for over a decade, a very successful community. And, I just actually interviewed Trevor Farnes yesterday, right? The founder and CEO of Mountain Ops. And I would never have gotten that contact without Ryan, right? Some of our guests, Eric Chesser, Ben. I mean, all these guys are big players in their field, and so I think that was a huge benefit for all of us, right? When
Absolutely.
I kind of called
That's
you
a
guys,
big opportunity,
and I said, "Hey, I want to start this." You probably wouldn't have necessarily jumped right in until you heard.
It would have been a different conversation for sure, but Ryan's got a big following and a lot of reach, and has a lot of contacts, and
it's been good. It's been good, sped it up, right? We've got Origin as a sponsor. We've got Montana Knife as a sponsor. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
I had my cousin call me from Vegas, and he's like, "Bro, you have Origin? Like, you know how big they are?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And he's like, "What? What do you?" He actually is signing up for a Utah experience next year. And I'm pretty sure that's what sealed it for him. He knows me, he's my family, but I think he's like, well, Rick really is doing something. So, anyway, so that all, I appreciate all of that. I think that's absolutely why I started it, the same reasons and it's not even, for me, it's selfish. And I think for you guys, like you just said, Woody.
Oh, for sure.
If I can
take people out there and watch them experience some of these things and have an amazing time, teach them some stuff, great. If I get to go do a lot of these things because we have this company, better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just getting the chance to hang out with you is an experience. Because you're the most funny person, one of the funniest persons I know.
Yeah.
Like that flight to Africa, that's just legendary. It was even though it was
a long one too.
Delayed,
that's a long one too.
Look, I've been telling.
It's a lot of time to be stuck on a plane with Woody.
I've been.
That could have went either way there. That could have been a great or a nightmare. I'm glad it went great.
Yeah, I've been telling my mom my whole life how funny I am, and she does not believe me. So I appreciate hearing that.
So that's why we started M42, right? Is to get people to, including ourselves. I've never surfed. I actually tried in Hawaii one time with my buddy Renz in Waikiki, and it was the most annoying thing I've ever done. It was just like getting rolled and salt water in my mouth and other surfers yelling at me, and I'm like, what is happening? And I went too big too soon. Apparently he was a poor instructor, Renz. But Costa Rica, I'm signed up. We're going to go down there and do that. And I'm excited, to spend a week trying to learn a new discipline, right? And like you said, I like how you said spend life skills. Mm-hmm. That's what these are. Surfing, it's not necessarily going to save your life, but all these things, rappelling. If you ever get in a bad situation, you need to know how to tie a knot,
right? Or
hold weight, or get down a cliff, or break down an animal, or shoot a bow, or cook on an open fire, or preserve meat, or saddle a horse, or set up a tent. I mean, we're having fun and we're doing these for fun and adventure, but there could be a point in time where these are needed and necessary and get you through a
Right.
bad situation, And then I think bigger than that I tell everybody is the relationships. That's the number one thing for me. Number one by far,
Absolutely.
is spending time with cool people, and
Yeah.
not even just spending time with them, but then networking.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had Trevor. So I jumped on a hunt with Ryan 4 or 5 years ago. I hadn't seen him in 15 years. He called me up last minute because he knew I bow hunted. I jumped on that, rearranged all my plans, went to Hawaii hunting with him. And it has just blossomed and vined and connected the dots into so many things that have blessed my life. Again, so like yesterday I had Trevor Farnes on. He was texting me last night, after the podcast, asked me about the bear episode. He wanted to listen to that, the bear story.
Yeah.
He's going to come stay in my cabin, and he seems like a very genuine, good person that I want to spend time with and get to know. He's a person that I think will fill my cup. And that would never happen if you don't go out there. I have a lot of friends who say, I don't have friends. I don't know how to meet people. It gets harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know
As
you
you
get
get older,
older, it's harder. It's
Mhm.
just, you're not at school and you're not playing sports with them. It just is going to be harder. But if you put yourself in these situations and you sign up, that's the other thing is you have a lot of people who talk, like I want more money. I want more friends. And it's like, well, you got to work. You have to go engage with people. They don't fall into your lap. You get in what you put out. And so, that's what I encourage people to do. It's like, you guys signed up, you went on these experiences. I went to Alaska with you, Woody, our Alaska experience, and we'll go through all of these, but
Right.
the Alaska experience was mostly your friends and family. You kind of sold that one out, through your connections, and wonderful people. I was actually not going to go. Remember, I'm like, I'm not going to go on this one. It's going to sound bad, but I need a year off of Alaska. I've been the last 14 years in a row.
I've felt like you have been pretty unfortunate.
Yeah.
Having to go to Alaska every year for
I know. Sounds bad even when I say
decade and
it.
a half.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a special place, but I was, it's a lot of work. People don't realize, they're exhausted. I get home from Alaska and I need 3 days to recover because it is
a lot of work.
A lot of weather. It's, fishing, a lot,
just the travel part.
Travel. And then you're up early, you're fishing late. The sun never sets. So you're out there fishing till midnight and you're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
There's a lot of remote areas too that you just don't have a lot of opportunity to get what you're looking for or what you need.
Yeah.
You have to go searching for it.
Yeah. It's a vacation, but it's kind of survival a little bit, you know, and that's what makes it wild, right? It's a wild, beautiful place. But anyway, you talked me into it, right? You talked me into it, and I'm glad you did, because some of those friendships that I made, I got home and like a week later, you invited me. got invited to a barbecue here in Southern Utah with some of those friends.
Yeah.
And they're just good people. It's like, I'm drawn to like good people, no drama, no games, good values. And that is them.
And like you said, when it was time, you had your wife and your kids, and your kids didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
Which
never.
You always say is a good. I don't have kids, so
Yeah.
I always want them to leave.
Yeah. I mean, for my kids to never have met those kids ever.
Yeah.
And to jump right in, they were just similar ages, similar values, similar, hobbies, and they just hit it off.
Yeah.
I had to drag them out of the pool, literally. Hayes, I had to, literally drag him out of the pool. Yeah. And that just shows you that they get it too.
And my mom actually mentioned later, she's like, those guys are really fun. They're just really easy to be around.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Good. Because I always tell you, you wanted me to tell stories in Alaska. And at that barbecue, I was talking a lot.
Yeah.
I had the missionaries over last night because of Trevor Farnes, and they came to my house last night, and I had invited them over for my kids. I digress here on a little side story, but I invited them over for my kids because I don't want to keep my kids ever, just because I don't understand it or don't necessarily believe it or I'm ignorant of it, I don't want to ever keep my kids away from something, because I don't like football. Doesn't mean Castle can't play football, or I don't like golf doesn't mean he can't play golf. So they knocked on my door on Saturday. I says, hey, come back, talk to my kids. And then after having my podcast with Trevor, he challenged me to sit with him too. So I sat there last night, and I think their question was, how are you? And when they left, Castle says, we were going to get a bird at Sean Sullivan's house that Sean gave him, and he was dying to get over there. And Castle says, man, that was supposed to be a 15-minute meeting, and it was 50 minutes. And I says, were they here that long? And he says, you talked for 30 of it. I'm like, did I? I said, Dad, didn't you see me over there like tapping my watch? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I thought you were saying you got time, like go for it. So I always worry about that, because you can tell from this podcast, if you probably go back over the last, 30 minutes of talking.
Yeah.
I'm probably 28 minutes in. So I always worry about that. I worry.
No, it would be a problem if you weren't so entertaining.
Yeah.
But you're entertaining and fun, so it's not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I kept thinking, when I was telling those stories at that barbecue, I kept thinking, okay, shut up now. Let somebody else talk. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I got something more to say. You're going to love this.
Yeah. That being said, if I knew you didn't like golf and football, I never would have partnered with you.
Yeah. I don't mind it. Football,
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah.
But golf, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't draw me. And that's why I tell people with
You're good.
That's what I tell people with M42 is, what do we have, Ricky? 36 channels? 36 different channels are they channels? Is that what we're calling them? And basically every channel is an activity or a hobby, right? So surfing, mountain biking, spelunking's on there, stargazing, finances, faith, fitness, because I tell Ricky, I want those on there, family, faith, fitness, and finances, because I don't think you can have anything else unless those are in check.
Right.
If you're out of shape, you can't go, it's going to be hard to go mountain biking. If you don't have money, it's going to be hard to do anything.
Just keeping a good balance of life.
Exactly.
As far as being outdoors, being faithful, being...
Yes, and it doesn't have to be a religion.
Values,
I tell people it doesn't have to be a religion. It can just be spiritual.
Right.
Just grateful. Even.
Right.
I tell people, they're like, what do you believe? And I'm like, I don't know that I believe in God, right? I don't have that, unfortunately, whatever you want to say, I don't have that. But I am grateful every day for this beautiful planet. And I'm grateful for, beautiful beaches and great food and my lovely wife and my beautiful kids. And I think that is a form of, I was telling Woody yesterday, I was on Ryan Mickler's podcast a couple of years ago, and he asked me that question, what's your stance on religion and faith? And we had this kind of similar conversation. And he says, Rick, you are probably one of the most spiritual people I know that doesn't go to church. And that I told Woody, that affected me, but anyway, I just believe that you have to have, if you're not grateful and humble, then you are probably going to be sad. And if you're sad, you're not going to want to go mountain biking. And if you're fighting with your wife, you're probably not going to want to go golf. Maybe you will want to go golf, get away from her, but it's not going to last. And so that's where I think those 4 are very important to me. And we're going to work a lot on those where, I think everybody needs to have those, not necessarily in check, because it's a work in progress, right? You're going to have ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys that we all do, including me. Some days my relationships are great. Some days they're falling apart, but just striving to be better.
Right.
Whatever that means, it's like golf.
Right.
If your handicaps, I don't even know what handicaps are, but is a handicap
I golf and I don't know what they are.
Yeah. Okay. I shouldn't use this analogy. Here I go with one of my analogies, and my handicap is I can't talk about golf.
When I say I golf, like I don't golf a lot.
Yeah. Well, you golf a lot. You just aren't good, right?
I don't golf a lot.
I called you like last Friday, and I'm like,
I was golfing then.
yeah. Most of the time I call you, you're golfing. I don't know what a lot is. I guess our definition of a lot is different. But my point is if you start out here and you just try to get better. You try to decrease your handicap or increase?
Decrease it.
Lower
because if your positive handicap is basically how much over you shot on average.
On the course.
Yeah.
So the course is a par 90?
No, 72.
Oh, they're all 72?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Well, you find a couple courses that are 70 or 71
because they have like a couple more par threes
right,
or something.
Then exactly.
So if you're 72 and your handicap's like a 5, that means you're shooting 77.
Right. On average.
So yeah. So if you're, and then you just try to whittle it down, right? Fix your stroke.
So
better gameplay, better
what's
strategy.
What's a scratch golfer then?
0.
Oh.
So you're 0 handicap.
So you shoot par on average.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they just call it a par golfer?
Scratch sounds better.
Yeah.
It's a cooler word. Don't change it, Woody. Jeez, I'm coming here to change it. So, I don't even know what we were talking about, honestly. Where did I go from? I started going into religion.
I don't know. All I can think about now is
having a balance of life.
28 handicap in golf.
Is that what it is?
Probably.
Oh, yeah, you aren't good.
Which is
I know.
good.
I think I'm better than that.
Yeah, but
and I don't golf. We should go golf.
I score, honestly.
Absolutely.
When most people don't.
You score?
Like, I keep my score.
Oh,
legit.
Yeah.
Like,
I always did.
If I lose my ball and have to take, I count
I'm the same way. I was fanatic about that because I wanted to know. I'm like, if I'm cheating anybody, it's myself.
Right. What they say that most people, if they kept an honest scorecard, would not break 100. Isn't that? Somebody was just saying that to us.
Maybe when you're starting out. I mean, but
if anybody's listening to this, please know that 90% of statistics are made up and 100% by Woody.
Do you know that 66% of the time, statistics are made up on the spot?
Yeah. I think 99% of your time. But anyway, that's what we're trying to do here, right? Is trying to get people out there. I think I was on the path of relationships, right? That's the big deal for me is something that people don't know. Like when I looked at, hey, I want to go to Hawaii and the trip's going to cost me $4,000 to go out there for a week and hunt and flights and all that stuff. It's like, that's my cost. What am I going to get? And I'm like, maybe I'll get a deer. Maybe I'll get some meat for my family, right? Maybe I'll harvest some meat for my family to eat. I really hadn't calculated the relationships. Yeah. And I'll tell you right now, a big one. If somebody said, we could write you a check and you have to dissolve the relationships you've made in the last 5 years, I don't know that there's enough money. That's what I don't think people realize. People are looking at, and I understand if you don't have $4,000 and you can't go to Hawaii and you're trying to feed your family, you shouldn't go. Right. I'm not saying that. But if there's any way to figure it out, not the results and the benefit is going to be something you didn't anticipate. Right. When you leave, you look at like your friendships. What would you trade for a friendship with Casey Stout's family, right? Yeah. But
still, we were friends before we were family.
Yeah. It's like, that is so valuable that, to put a monetary number on that. And so that's what I want to encourage people that are listening is, come for the adventure, come for the mountain biking experience to see beautiful country, get exercise, learn some new, put some new tricks or some new skill sets into your bag of mountain biking, golf, whatever it is. But then really be open to the relationships and having, there was a couple times in Africa when I was there and I was sitting in my room and I tried to not be in there hardly at all. But there was a couple times where I was just exhausted and I'm like, I'm so tired. And I'd look out by the fire and I'm like, get up, you can sleep when you're dead, let's get up and go. And I went out there and sat by the fire and that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, exactly. The opportunities to just talk about your day, like all the cool things that happen, all the funny things that happen. Yeah.
That's
where the connections. Yeah. That's where it deepens.
Yeah. Yeah. It's different for me personally too, because I have a very small list of people who I want to spend time with, like very family friends. Like it is a very short list. I love going out driving by myself or hunting by myself. And there's a few people who I am willing to share that time with. And so to go with groups like this, like it is actually out of my comfort zone, which is weird because I'm very much a people person,
Yeah.
and good around people, but I prefer, I've always said like I'm an introverted extrovert, I like both. I'm both. And so it's different for me to go with these groups and, open it up.
And I
hear that a lot,
100% understand that. And I would encourage you, I would challenge you to try to, and again, it's one of those things where when I go to Hawaii and there's 8 guys, a couple of them, I'm like, if you're up, I'm going to bed, really, I'm like, no, I don't, I know enough to know that this isn't my people.
Right.
And so, but at the same time, if you're there and you meet somebody and you're like, man, that's a good person, and I want to, then that's what I've taken out of this more than anything. Because I've been living, you guys know, I've been kind of living the M42 life for the last 4 or 5 years. I've been traveling for 8, but the M42 lifestyle to me is experiences with people and not just like my parents,
Right.
random people. And I started doing that with Ryan. And then I went up to his event in Pine Valley this summer. I'm just trying to say yes to more of these things.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing that I've taken from it is the networking. And, it's like I'm hunting in Minnesota now because of that trip. I'm hunting in Africa because of the Hawaii trip. That's how I made that
Right.
connect. It's just crazy. It's just a wild web that if I wouldn't have, not only if I just would have went, but if I wouldn't have engaged, that's where a lot of people, they want the 6-pack. Hey guys, let's step away from this conversation real quick, talk about a couple things we have coming up with M42 Adventures. As you know, several of us, 21 of us, just got back from Africa a few days ago. And what an experience, an amazing, amazing adventure. First time for me ever going to South Africa and just loved it. Everybody who went had an amazing time. Several of them, honestly, most of them are coming back next year. And so just a wonderful trip. And we're going to be announcing our 2025 South Africa experience dates here in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. Like I said, it's filling up fast and we've already filled up about 40% of the spots and we haven't even marketed it yet. So if you are interested, stay tuned. Like I said, follow us on Instagram, the newsletter, and listen to the podcast and make sure you're ready for when we drop those dates. Also wanted to talk about our community. We've been working on this for 8 months. It's called the Genesis, and we are very excited about this. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears been going into this, and we are going to be launching that September 1st. We're offering September, October, and November free memberships, and we are very excited about this. It's going to be an amazing outdoor community. There's a lot of value and information and lots of good stuff in there, networking, and so stay tuned for that as well. Just wanted to update you on those couple things coming up here in the next couple weeks, and let's get back to this conversation. But they don't, want to do the sit-ups, and so just being in the gym isn't going to work. So I encourage you going down the road to.
I've been driving by the gym for like 20 years, and it has not done a single thing for me.
Yeah, I could tell. You don't have to tell us.
Yeah, and we knew that you didn't have a hard time speaking up either.
Yeah.
You didn't have to tell us.
See, I wasn't going to say that, but I couldn't, so I said it. Okay, so I'm going to try to get back on track here. So let's see. So why you guys want to be a part of M42? We covered that. What did you take away from the experiences this year? So Woody, you went to Africa and you went on the Alaska one.
Mm-hmm.
spin, you did Africa, and you've also
I was on a different Alaska trip.
yeah. But you also did you didn't do this year's M42 experience in Hawaii, but you've done it before.
Yeah. That was an awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
awesome
you went out there with a
experience.
group of people. What have you guys like taken away? What did you take away from Africa? Let's talk about that one a little bit. You know, what was that like? I mean, if you got people that are here listening, we're going to launch our, 2025 dates here in the next 30 days or so. What was that? You know, I know what it was for me.
Where do you even start?
I know
it's like the whole experience
Do
was
you
just
start in the airport in Vegas, or do you start when you get to Africa? Like,
Start after, because you guys had a little trouble getting there, and I don't want to scare people away with that. We had a couple delays. You guys ran into a storm, which delayed you. But I start when you get to Africa.
But we also we made the best of it.
And I love that.
We were delayed.
Yeah,
we
told my parents that.
Yeah, we were delayed a few days, and we ended up golfing on the Potomac River in D.C. with the Washington Monument in the background, which we never would have done. We ended up going.
Twice,
we
right?
almost drove by the White House.
You golfed twice, right?
Yeah. And then we ended up going through London, which
for a guy who doesn't golf a lot,
which wasn't our original flight path, and we had a layover. So we're like, let's get out of the airport, and we took a cab to Windsor Castle and played the tourist thing for a few hours, and ate lunch in this dive that we've got pictures, and I'm sure they'll get posted at some point, but they've got these bars, and in the background you can see it's bricked off, but it used to be a secret tunnel into the castle for troop movements and things. I mean,
awesome.
That
stuff over there is older than our country.
Oh yeah,
which is amazing.
Those are just two things
blows my mind.
that we got
never
to do.
would have done.
Never would have done.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that. So we made the best of it.
And then you stayed longer in Africa.
And then we extended one
and
day.
golfed there.
Yeah, we lost 2 days.
I'm seeing
we lost
pattern.
2 days
pattern here.
and then gained one back.
So in that
Africa.
7 or 8 days, you golfed 3 times. What's a lot?
No,
twice.
We golfed twice.
Yeah.
And then
in Africa.
Yeah, in Africa we golfed
once.
And then twice on the way.
No,
once.
Oh, I thought you golfed
once in DC, and then instead of golfing right when we got there, we golfed when we
left.
I
thought you golfed in Virginia or in. I thought you said you'd golf twice on the way.
No.
Okay, just once.
Yeah,
okay.
just once.
Okay, that's better. Twice in a week.
So then you get to Africa, and
between the delays, we probably had a chance to go golfing another time. But
yeah.
It's just it is. How do you explain it?
Well, I want to touch on that just a little bit more, because I think that's very, very important what you guys did. And you actually mentioned it, Woody, and I said it to Gina 3 or 4 times. I says, of all the guys that I'm glad out of these 21 people that went with us to Africa, I'm glad it was you two. And I hate to say that, because that means I wish you bad fortune, but it's not. Yeah. I just know your guys' personalities.
Yeah.
Some of the other people would have been
mad. We can make the best of any.
They would have wanted money back. They would have said, this isn't what I signed up for. And you guys came in that first day, 3 days late, smiling, having a good time, and ready to go. And people always say,
we got lost on the drive.
We got in a fender bender. Spent an hour and a half, another hour and a half delayed in some.
I forgot about that too. Yeah, on the way from the Johannesburg airport to the lodge, you get in a car accident and lost, and had to get a police escort back to the lodge.
In the bush of South Africa.
Yeah, an outback bush, South Africa.
And I always tell people,
so I'm never traveling with Woody again.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I always tell people,
experienced that either.
I always tell people, they always say, man, how do you travel? This happened or that happened, and I got frustrated. And I'm like, first of all, if you're trying to control it, it's not gonna be good. And second of all, most of the time when I tell a story, it's when the things didn't go as planned. We were in Positano, Italy, or Amalfi, Italy, looking for our Airbnb, driving around. You guys have never been there, but it's amazing, but it's confusing. Tiny roads. And I'm in my rental car, and we're trying to find it and couldn't find it. And we ended up sleeping under a bridge in my car with me and my wife and 2 little boys. And the next morning we started again. And my kids talk about that all the time. We made up a song. We wrote a song, you know.
Oh yeah, making the best of any experience.
And they sing the song all the time. And, you know, it's like those are the things that they remember. It's like, remember when we slept in our car? And I'm like, yeah, but do you remember when we got to our sweet VRBO on the cliff and it was amazing? They're like, no, Dad, we remember when I, you know, slept in the car and, you know, we made shadow puppets on the wall. And so I think people who are wanting to travel, wanting to try new adventures, first, don't go with expectations. And second, roll with the punches. You know, I think people a lot of times are, the biggest thing I get asked when we go as a family of 5 for a 1 year, we've traveled in backpacks. You guys know that. You know, I went to Africa with 5 backpacks. We were there for almost 3 weeks total, 19 days. And we packed in backpacks. But people don't realize if, you know, every country I've been to so far has deodorant. They have toothpaste. They have socks, you know. A lot of times, like we'll travel to Alaska, be there for a month, and then we fly from Alaska to Bali. Those are totally different climates. You know, like, I mean, you're in boots and gloves and beanies and you're flying to flip-flops and board shorts. But we buy stuff there. You know, it's you can go down to a little store and pick up a pair of flip-flops for $10. It's actually cheaper than checking your luggage. And the other thing people don't realize is dragging. I see these families of 5 with, you know, 10 bags. And the wife and the husband are fighting and, you know, they're ornery and their stuff's bouncing down the cobblestone and doesn't fit in their rental car. And I'm like, I'd rather not have any clothes than that situation, you know? So I commend you guys on how you guys handled that.
Yeah, having a just positive outlook on life. I think I picked probably the worst hobbies to have with golf. If you have high expectations, golfing, fishing, or bow hunting, and you're going to be disappointed a lot.
You are. Well, and I think, you know, Spin, I know your past. You've come through some hard times. Right? You've had some trauma with your dad and your brother, right?
2 brothers.
2 brothers.
3 brothers, sorry.
3?
Yeah.
You've lost 3 brothers?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, so there's only 3 of us left.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, like I said,
my sisters.
I lost my dad. He died at 28. And I think that you can go 2 ways with that. You know, you can go down the hole of why me and anger and resentment, whatever, to either the world or to a higher power.
Right.
Or you can go and say, you know, I'm grateful for the time I have. I'm grateful for the time with them, and you can flip it. You know, half empty, half full.
Right.
And I tell it.
It's a conscious decision. Yeah.
I tell people all the time when they ask about you. I'm like, I've never seen him mad.
Yeah, he's a good personality to have, you know, those that kind of trip with.
Yeah. Well, and they say, you know, God will only give you what you can handle,
right?
And so he obviously knew you were strong, and you were, you know, I hope, right? Yeah. I don't have that necessarily, but I hope, I wish. But yeah, I just commend you for that, you know, for having your outlook on life that you do, and to maintain that.
Thank you. So. Yeah, you make me cry.
Yeah. No, it's a big deal. It's, you know, people out there, they're going through a lot of, you know, everybody, life happens. And I always see there's some who cave or fall, unfortunately. And there's some who, like you said, you know, it's your attitude. It's, and, you know, it's, you know, I always look at like when nobody's looking, when you're alone and it's dark and you're just there with your thoughts. And thankfully I've always had, you know, pretty good thoughts. I've had, you know, I've never really gone down that bad path. And I would say that probably about you too as well, where you're just kind of, you know, you always seem like you're excited for the next adventure. You live life to the fullest.
Right.
You know, like you said, you work very hard, you play very hard. And that's why I'm drawn to you. You know, that's why I like having you both as partners is we have the same outlook. You know, if there was a guy in here that was a Debbie Downer, you know, we'd cut him from the fold. Even if he was skilled in business, you know, I wouldn't want to be around somebody that is negative.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Just getting a chance to hang out with positive, influences
it's huge.
is just a big opportunity. But that's the reason why we're together and we're doing this together.
Exactly. What has M42 done for you personally? Either one of you. And I would say,
man,
and
that's broad.
it's funny because I don't shut up. So I was going to say, I cancel this for you if you don't have anything. But I mean, it got you to Africa.
Yeah.
Instantly, I can tell you.
I mean, we're so new. We're 9 months old.
6 months, really. We
that's
incorporated in
true.
March because of the whole
Yeah.
name fiasco. But
Yeah. So I
6
mean,
months.
we're just getting going. So far, it's helped me go to Alaska, and it's the reason I went to Africa.
Yeah.
And I would assume that the podcasts that I've recorded have changed your lives.
Mm-hmm.
I know you listen to every single one of them.
Right.
I actually thought this was the first one.
Yeah. We're launching
I thought we were launching our podcast right now.
You think I'd launch with you?
I thought I was the only person you could get on here.
Hey, will you turn his mic off? Yeah.
So I mean, and honestly, probably the biggest thing, like the way it's affected me most, is my anticipation for the next few years of my life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember talking to you, Woody, I think we were in Alaska. It was just kind of ending. And we were just chatting. I don't really know all the circumstances, but you basically, the gist of it was, you said, I think I even asked you, I says, man, isn't this cool? Like, you just went on a cruise to Alaska, and now you're back in Alaska with friends and family fishing, and you're about to head to Africa. And you said, man, I could get used to this. Like you said, I haven't been this excited for what's next in a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that was, that's kind of how I live, right? If I don't have something on the horizon, and I encourage people with this, whether it's, going camping, or going golfing, something that's not thousands of dollars,
right,
but something to look forward to. What gets me through the hard days and the hard months and the winter is thinking, hey, we're going to Costa Rica in March, we're going back to Alaska next July, we're going, and that's, I think you're starting to kind of taste that, where that is very much needed for me in my happiness.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel the same way?
Absolutely. I mean, Woody just got his passport and got it stamped.
That was my
for the
first time ever having a passport.
Yeah. There was several, Africa, there was several people who had never left the country.
Yeah.
Half the people had never been on a helicopter. Had you?
Yeah.
No. That was my
guys-
first time on a
No, that was my
helicopter.
first-
Yeah, I
Yeah.
found out that more than half had never been on a helicopter.
Yeah.
My boys harvested animals for the first time in their lives. Just a lot of firsts.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, you'll never, they can never take that away. We, M42, provided a way
Right.
for people to get their first passport.
Right.
And when we were leaving, we stopped on the side of the road to buy those souvenirs, like those, original handmade by the local souvenirs.
Yeah, they're sitting here. If you're watching on YouTube, they're here on our table.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this thing,
It
man.
was cool.
A water. What is this? Cape Buffalo carved out of solid wood, and then a giraffe femur
Yeah.
that is carved in.
To zebras. I mean, it's just
Unbelievable.
awesome.
It's awesome.
But I bought these two, 1.5 foot high warriors, old time warrior looking things. They don't even, you can't even set them down because they're handmade and they didn't do the bottoms flat and level. So you can't even put them down. Like,
You gotta shim them.
I need to bring them into the shop and
Sand them flat.
Yeah, sand them flat so I can even use them.
Yeah,
But
they're tipped over. Yeah,
just laying on my floor.
yeah.
They obviously didn't use saws to make it.
No, you turn it over and you can see where they chiseled the bottoms out, and it's not flat.
Yeah.
You'd think when they got done, they'd set it down and see if it stood there.
See, that's the problem with Americans.
They can sell it to you.
That's the problem with Americans. Is we go over there and we're like, bro, make these things that you carved for 3 days for $9 flat. Like, come on,
Right.
Which, yeah.
Yeah. But I got that cane with the warthog tusk handle.
Yeah, it was
I
awesome.
knew you'd
That
bring
is
up
like-
your cane.
I wanted one
most-
of those,
the
and the guy
most-
wasn't there the next time.
Oh,
He was going to bring me, we went on
yeah.
Saturday.
It was the only one when I bought that.
I told
And-
him, I says, bring me one of those and another giraffe bone. And he
Yeah.
says, I'll be here. And we went a day earlier, and they said, he's here tomorrow. And I'm like,
Oh yeah. See that's the thing I was like the most excited to get. And I just kept thinking 30 years from now, I'm going to be, when I need a cane,
yeah.
I'm going to be using that cane
Yeah.
and thinking about that time way back when I
Yeah.
went to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was the coolest part,
Yeah.
the coolest thing.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. That's, a lot of people don't understand hunting. They don't, they're just ignorant,
Yeah.
to be honest. I encourage anyone who is listening who doesn't understand it to please come join us on one.
Yeah.
If it doesn't change your mind and your heart,
That's fine.
I'll
Yeah.
be shocked. I
But-
will be
Right.
shocked.
And it won't some people.
And
And
that's-
that's
yeah,
fine
for sure.
because there are people who love all God's creation and creatures and don't want anything to get hurt. And that's fine. We need tender hearts like that to balance out our hearts,
Yeah.
who like
Yeah.
to shoot stuff and,
Yeah.
and eat it and
Yeah.
enjoy the
Yeah.
experience. But
That's
I
where
think
we-
if
that's
most
where we came
people,
from.
I think if most people experienced it, it would change a lot of minds.
I do too, and especially in Africa because it's looked as like trophy hunting, and it's like, man, you don't see.
The poverty.
My dad
right.
told me that hunting in South Africa is the second largest economic
Industry?
I always laugh at Ricky because he's over there like dropping cans and eating food, and it's like, bro, you have 60 minutes, just hold it together, man. Just hold it together, bro. But he's always over there like fidgeting. But my dad says, listen, the two largest economies in Africa are mining, number one, and number two is hunting. And he says, but hunting actually employs more people. It just doesn't produce as much income because mining is more profitable.
and it
and-
feeds
That's-
people directly.
And that you saw.
Yeah.
I mean,
They
it's
use
like,
some of the meat for the lodge, and
Yeah.
everything else they give to the locals.
yeah, and it's
that
and
feeds
it's like
people.
it's like you imagine the people don't understand. It's like these animals are I don't want to say made for this, but
They have a purpose.
that's their
That's it.
purpose. They're there. They live. We don't shoot young ones, right?
Right.
We're after the larger, older, mature animals that are.
Right.
I shot a wildebeest that had 3 legs. Or, I mean, 1 leg. Oh yeah, 3 legs. It was missing.
You corrected yourself from 3 legs to 1 leg. You should have seen this thing try to run, bro. It was wild. Just with that 1 leg.
It was just doing circles on the ground, and I kept missing it. I'm like, hold still. It's like breakdancing.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So this golden wildebeest, we're driving along, and it's
Running on 1 leg.
yeah, just propped up against a tree. I'm like, why isn't it running? They're like, it has 1 leg, bro. I'm like, just kickstand there, And he says, and it was amazing to me because we were literally driving down the road, and my guide Rue, the wildebeest trots off, and I'm like, oh, there's a wildebeest. Oh, it's a golden. And he's like, it's injured. And I'm like, what? Like, we saw it for half of a second. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, how? And he's like, something's wrong with it. And I'm like, I didn't see anything, and I've hunted my whole life.
Yeah.
And he's like, let me call the landowner. And the landowner says, no, take that animal. It's suffering. It's just going to die and be wasted. It's in pain, right?
Right.
So, it's suffering. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we go over there, and I ended up killing it, and it had 3 legs. And donated all the meat to his men because we were on another ranch. And they were all excited, and it's like, that's what people don't realize is, I liked how you put, Woody, there's 3 ways an animal dies. It dies of hunger or starvation, or
Which is
I'll let you
slow.
say it.
They starve to death. They get old. They can't feed
Injury?
themselves. The snowstorm, whatever the case is, they starve to death. They get disease, or they get ripped apart from a wild animal, or we kill them. So maybe
Yeah.
4 ways.
Yeah, so they either die from old age or disease, 1. They die from predators, 2.
Most likely,
3
yeah,
hunted.
of those, the most likely way that they're going to die that is the least amount of suffering is us.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
You know?
There's a account I follow on social media called Nature is Metal. Have you seen that? It's
No,
insane. You guys should check it out. But man, it is graphic, and it's Nature is Metal. It's not, nature is nice,
Yeah.
and the stuff that they show is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like 9 out of 10 of the things is, hey, graphic warning.
Yeah.
And it's just showing that like these animals, they're getting eaten while they're laying there. You know, it's just so horrible to us. And then you see, it's like I go out there with my son and he pulls the trigger on a Gems bucket, goes 70 yards, tips over and dies. I mean, it was like my Nyala that I shot died in probably 4 or 5 seconds. It went like 40 yards.
Yeah.
And it was old. They said it was a very, very old animal. And like you said, it's going out 1 of 2 more ways, suffering. Its teeth were grinded down, it was just an old animal, or a predator. There's hyenas and jackals and leopards on the property.
Watch any of those African, like they start eating those animals and they're still alive.
Oh, yeah.
That's not pleasant.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, exactly.
Don't tell me that thing wouldn't rather be shot.
and
through
then
the
we use
heart.
it, and then like you said, we take that meat and we consume it, and so I think that's you go and look at those people, Trusty and Simon and Arnold and what was the other one? Is it George, the Skinner?
I could never remember his name. It was
Yeah.
more difficult to pronounce, and I can't remember it.
And you go tell them, hey, we're not going to come back next year and hunt.
Yeah.
They're out of a livelihood. They're out of food.
Right.
And so I encourage people to really research stuff before they just jump to conclusions. I'm sure there's some bad apples out there, like in anything, but the majority of us are out there spending our money that is supporting. We use the example of shooting a giraffe. And they said, hey, you shoot a giraffe, you just save the lives of those other 8, because that property can't support 9 giraffes. There's not enough food. And so that thing is going to starve. Plus, by spending the money, you made those other giraffes worth money. And that will save them. If you have 9 giraffes that are starving, you can't afford to go feed 9 giraffes and buy hay. Nobody's hunting them. You're going to cull, they call it culling, the herd.
That's one of the. You asked what were some of the things that shocked us, or however you worded it. That's one of them.
Yeah.
Is that the hunting is very, like, it's a huge part of the economy, and just like supply and demand. Like if you're on a property and these animals aren't in demand, they don't want those animals.
No, they are trying to outlaw the hunting of lions right now. And, me being from America, I'm like, good, lions are cool. They're pretty, I'm not going to shoot a lion, whatever. And the guy's like, well, if they're not valuable, all the landowners will go out there and they'll shoot their lions and they'll dig a hole and throw them in it, because they
There's no
can't
reason to feed
support them. It's like, it's like you said, it's capitalism.
Yeah.
Through meat. And and people, and so I encourage people, if you don't understand it, just don't, you can read anything on the internet, right? You can read how God is real, how God isn't real. You can read how there aren't aliens, there are aliens. You can read how hunting is bad and how hunting is good. I encourage you to go to Africa. I was always told, one thing I always tell people is I was told the French are assholes, right? That's standard. Nope. I spent months and months in France, and they are beautiful people that, I've had cried with full-grown men that have said, we love America. You saved us. it's not true. And so people are like, oh, you went over to France, aren't they all punks? And I'm like, nope. Well, how do you know? I've been there. I went there. And so when people tell me, it's like somebody can tell you that chocolate ice cream's gross. Taste it and make your decision. And so I encourage people who don't understand something to go and experience it firsthand and then decide.
Right. And just as far as I'm concerned, like going back and along with what you're just saying, I mean, I've been in the hunting industry for a long time, and just the experience of being with those guides was incredible to me, because I have a lot of experience, but they had so much more vast knowledge. It was just, that was my biggest takeaway, is how much they knew and how well they were in their field,
and they love it.
It was incredible.
That's their passion.
One of the coolest. I've hunted my whole life, and there's been I've had a lot of really cool, whatever experiences. When I shot that golden wildebeest, and I've said this to everybody I've talked to, when I shot that, I shot a perfect shot through both shoulders, both lungs, and those animals are tough to knock down. And it was like 0 hour, 5 minutes later, and it would probably be too dark to shoot on the last day of the hunt. And that thing took off, and we couldn't find blood right at the beginning, and so they called. Simon was with us, and they called Trusty, and then the other guy, the Skinner, and with a flashlight, those guys side by side, bent over. We'd go 100 yards, and they're just walking. I'm like, what? Are they just walking? And then they'd stop, and they'd point, and they'd say something, and I'm looking at them, and I'm looking where they're looking, and I'm going, there is nothing there, bro. What are you even? And I'd ask my hunter if they're still on the trail, and he'd ask them, and they'd say, yeah. And I'm like, I don't think they are.
Yeah.
And then 100 yards later, there's some blood. I'm like, okay,
we
are on the trail.
Yeah.
It went like 500 yards, bleeding very little, and we walked right up on it. And watching those native guys track that was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in hunting.
Yeah, I remember coming up
amazing.
to you right after that, in the headlights when you guys had just found it, and you said, I want a picture with them.
Yeah.
I want to remember this, and that I could tell that it affected you.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's what I tell people, like, get out there, try the food, drink the drink, experience it, and that's why we're calling these experiences, right?
Yeah.
It's not hunts. It's,
M42 Adventures.
Yep. Go on adventures and have experiences. And that's where we tried all the different food. I mean, the food there was insane, right? We were trying so many dishes that every dish, I'm like, I've never had that.
Yeah.
Never had that.
And who knew that zebra meat is the best tasting meat?
I loved it. Yeah. Loved it. And that's
So
it. And
good.
that's, again, where my mind was like, this will not be good. I won't enjoy this. And I take a bite and
I
I'm
never
like,
thought I would have enjoyed it that
I
much.
can't believe I'm eating a horse right now.
Right. Yeah.
And then you get there and you're like, okay, these are wild animals. They're not horses.
Yeah.
But that being said, every piece of meat that I started putting in my mouth, I was like, I'm going to eat a horse right now. Like I had the
mental,
I had horse
mental
in
thought of it.
Austria.
You just got to get over
several
that.
times. They eat it there.
Yeah.
One of the funny, we had it like 3 or 4 times, but one of the funniest things was we were at the zoo.
That's
Austria,
wild.
In Vienna. And we go to zoos because I have little kids. So I've been to hundreds of zoos in the world. And we show up there, and my kids are like, "We're hungry, Dad." And I'm like, "All right, let's go to the little snack bar and get something." And they had brats, hot dogs, and horse sandwiches. And I'm like, that's their choices. Like those, it wasn't a hamburger and a hot dog. It was a horse sandwich and a brat. And I'm like, and I'm Googling the word, and I'm like, is that horse, babe? I think we've. And I Google it, and it's like horse sandwich, and I'm like, and I ate it. It was like a Spam. It was like a processed. It wasn't like a steak or something. It looked like Spam. I ate it all the time. We had it several times, and it was just mental trying to get over it. But again, we used to eat it in the U.S. Horse meat used to be eaten, and I think it still is in Canada, right? I've heard that. I think so. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I heard like native
Is
American
horse meat,
Indians.
Ricky, will you Google, is horse meat eaten in Canada real quick? What's our time also? What are we sitting at on time?
Hour and 2.
Okay. So we're going to wrap up here pretty quick. I know you guys are busy, but I wanted to talk on another thing. So next year, right, we got some cool experiences coming up. Those are going to be fun. We'll launch those here pretty quick. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about it is, right? You can, horse meat's eaten in Canada, right?
Particularly in Quebec.
Yeah, so they eat it up there. And again, it's only weird to us. You know, that's where it's like, I'm not going to judge them. It's like, oh, you guys are weird. You eat horses. And it's like, they probably think we're weird. We don't. We just, we make glue out of them or throw them away.
Ricky, is there a specific type of horse they like?
We eat cows. We eat cows, and there's places in the world that worship cows, basically. Or
Exactly.
Exactly. They're honored, I guess.
Oh, really? Weird.
It's what?
Exported from Japan. They can't grow their own horses in Canada. Probably too cold. Their legs probably freeze off.
Other countries as well, but mostly Japan.
Interesting. So anyway, again, that's another reason where it's like and that's why I like taking my kids all over this world, you know, and showing them how other people live, you know, Locke is 3. He has only drank bottles for his whole life, right? Chocolate milk bottles. We take milk and we mix a little chocolate milk or chocolate powder in there. And that has been his diet for 3 years. Like, will not eat anything else, but you have to eat something else. Come on, buddy. We try to encourage him. He just wouldn't have it. So when we go on these flights, Gina actually has to tell him that, you know, the milk is breast milk. And he's like, he turned 4. Or no, he's not 4 yet. He's almost 4. And she's like, it's breast milk. And they're like, well, where's the infant? And we're like, it's that dude over there, you know, walking. He's like 92 months, you know, that old. How old is he? 80 months. It's like, well, that's like 7. But anyway, so we're trying to keep this milk cold. We're, you know, it's a pain on flights, 15-hour flights, right? And we're nervous. We're going to Africa. This is the first time he's been that far on a single flight. We hop. And so anyway, we get there and their milk's a little different. It's a little different taste and he's not drinking it. And I'm like, he's not going to die. He's going to figure it out, you know? And a few days go by, won't drink the milk. He's having nibbles on other stuff, you know, because he's going to die. You know, he's got to eat.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks in Africa, we threw his bottles away the day we left.
Oh, my God.
We left him that. We actually left them there with the natives and said, hey, here's a bag, here's a cooler, here's 6 bottles, here's the chocolate powder. And they're like, they have little babies, and they're like, awesome, you know, this is great. And he hasn't had a bottle since. And that's the beauty of travel. It's like, this is going to put you outside your comfort zone. This is going to make you experience new things. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. That's where the growth happens, right? Outside of our comfort zone is where growth happens. You know, I was nervous yesterday of my podcast with Trevor. I haven't been nervous on many, but we were going to get into faith, I knew, and that one makes me nervous. And I grew. You know, outside of our comfort is where growth happens, right? That's a saying, isn't it?
Right.
Should be, if it's not. So anyway, all right. So I want to hurry and wrap up here. I want to talk a little bit about the Genesis, right? So we're launching that here in a few days. This episode actually is going to come out Friday, so a couple days before we launch that. And I know you guys don't know a ton about it. You know a little bit, but it's an online community, right? So the bigger picture of M42 isn't just these experiences. That's kind of where the rubber meets the road, right? That's where you go out and you actually live what we're saying. But the meat on the bone for me is the community. So we're going to be launching that. Like I said, we're launching with 35, 36 channels. We're going to have people in there that are coaches, basically for their channels. You know, I'm not a professional on kayaking. So we're going to get a coach that is a professional on that. Spin, I would like even to talk to you about golf. Either you or if somebody, you know. I'm going to be over the finance channel and over the travel channel. I feel like I'm qualified to teach about those things. Maybe I don't know everything, but I feel like I'm pretty good, right?
Yeah. I can do that. My wife is my best student.
Yeah.
I see how well she plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. You know, it's like get people in there and start educating them on all these. And that's what I tell people. It's like I told you in the beginning of this podcast, I don't love golf. I can do it, and I know it's necessary. Back in the day, it was really necessary for me in business, but now it's not. And so I just choose to not do it. But it's not something that I hate. It's just something I'd rather do something else. Like you said, it frustrates me, and I'm out there like, why am I frustrating myself when I can go do this and not be frustrated? But that's where I tell people, like, try it all. You know, I use the analogy, and I always get it wrong. But how many scoops are there? How many flavors are there at Baskin-Robbins? 28?
31.
See?
No idea.
Wrong again. 31 flavors. Everybody's like, it's 31, Rick. You don't know that? And I'm like, I know it's a lot.
I thought they always came out with new ones.
It's 31
Weird
flavors, right?
names.
31 flavors. It's a set thing. So 31 flavors
Oh,
at Baskin.
Ben and Jerry's. That's who I'm
Yeah.
thinking of.
But there's 31 flavors at Baskin-Robbins. They obviously know that not everybody's going to love chocolate and vanilla, right? And so try them all. We always go with my kids, and Hayes always gets chocolate all around the world, chocolate. And I find he's getting older now to where I can have these conversations, and I'm like, try something different. And that's kind of our rule. And Castle was always vanilla. He just loved vanilla. And we just went somewhere, and he got like strawberry cheesecake or something. And I'm like, good for you. And he's like, it's really good. And I'm like, good. You know, if you don't try different candy bars, you're not going to know which one you love. So with M42 Adventures and with the Genesis, come in there and dive into these and see. Maybe, you know, there's people who love rappelling. There's people who love, you know, astrology and gazing at the stars. And there's people who love golf, and there's people who love hunting.
Yeah.
Come in there, find yours, taste them all. I would a little bit, taste them and kind of see what one fits you. And then we're going to have experiences and community around that, right? We're going to, you know, I think that's the easiest way to get into something is if you're the golf coach, you know, in that, and I come in there and I build a bond with you, and you say, man, hey, you're in Idaho, why don't you come down and we'll golf in St. George one weekend?
Or
you
we
know?
meet in Provo.
Meet halfway. Exactly. You know,
I'd be,
and that's where I'm
love
hoping that this goes, right? This is brand new. Like what he said, we're 6 months old, but that's my big vision for this is a community of
knowledge
and connection.
Right.
You know, imagine
what I'm excited
this.
about.
Imagine in a couple of years, we have a couple hundred members in there and you guys get stranded in Virginia, right? Mm-hmm. And you send a message out on so it's basically we've built our own community, right? So it's like a Facebook, but we run it.
Yeah.
And imagine you go on the wall on the feed and you say, hey, I'm in Virginia. We have a layover here. We're stuck. Anybody in the area want to come golf? And a couple of guys are like, what up, Spin? Hey, man, you know, I know of you. And hey, Woody, what's up, man? We'd love to come out. I was actually,
That'd be awesome.
you know, I got this idea from Ryan. He has a community called the Iron Council. Mm-hmm. And same thing. He's like, hey, man, we're going over to the Big Island to hunt goats. I've got 12 members over there. I'm going to send a message out and see if any of them want to grab dinner. Sends a message out, and 6 guys are like, hey, we'll come have dinner with you. You know, that's amazing. That's awesome. And you have 6 people that have similar values, you know, and similar interests. We're not all going to see eye to eye. We're all not going to be exactly the same, but we're still part of this community of the Genesis.
Right.
So I'm excited for that. I think it's going to be huge. We're launching on the 1st. You guys know. I encourage you guys to, you know, tell everybody you know it's free for September, October, and November. There's a lot of cost involved. People don't understand. There's a lot of cost involved with running it.
Right.
We're going to eat that for 90 days as we build it and make it better and get more coaches and get more content.
Feedback from
Feedback.
people who join.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not perfect. It's basically a beta test.
Right.
But, you know, everybody, people listening, please tell your friends, tell your family. The way this becomes special is more people, right? If it's me in there by myself,
Right.
it's going to be pretty boring. But as we get 100 people, 200 people, 500 people,
Right.
and you know, I'm going to be doing the financial channel and the travel channel. And once a month, I'm going to do a live Zoom meeting. Anybody can join. And we're going to talk about what I want to talk about. And I'll take if there's people in there and they're like, hey man, you know, I need help. I actually was just at the gym the other day and I had a gentleman stop me. His name's Trevor Edwards. He's here in town. He's a detective with the police force. And he came up to me and he says, I don't know him real well. He's older than me in school, but I've seen him around and he's fit, man. He's just jacked. And he's probably 3 or 4 years older than me. And he comes up and I'm sitting on a bike pedaling and he comes up, he's like, Rick, what's up, bro? I've been following you on Instagram and man, what you're doing is amazing and your travels and all this stuff. And I'm wanting to take my girlfriend, I want to marry her and take her on a honeymoon. And I've been thinking of Australia. And I'm like, oh, awesome, dude. Australia's amazing, And I'm like, what's your budget? What are you thinking, And he's like, well, it's pretty tight. I've got kids and from a former marriage and whatever. And he's like, it's pretty tight. And I'm like, bro, I would probably go to Bali. And he's like, where's that? I'm like, it's right by Australia. And I showed him some pictures, showed him some video. I'm like, it's so inexpensive. And in 10 minutes, he's like, dude, I'm in. And I'm like, I'll help you book it. I'm here. I want people to experience life.
Right.
I haven't talked to him. I don't know that I've talked to him more than a couple times ever. But that's what I can do, right? So people, when they're traveling or want to travel, I can help them with, I planned everything. I planned my flights. I actually called a booking agent. What do you call them? Travel agent in the very beginning. Here in town, here in St. George, a big one. And I says, hey, listen, I need help. I'm looking at leaving the country for the first time ever with my wife and 2 boys. And we want to leave for 9 months. And we would like to go to some different places. We don't even really know. Can you help me? And she's like, nope. She's like, I don't even know what your 9 months. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I could put you on a cruise or something, like a 9-month cruise. And I'm like, no, I want to really get down, get nitty gritty, drive. I want to rent cars.
A 9-month cruise.
Yeah. They have
They have those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They have lifetime
Month or
ones,
2.
like ones where you can just get on and it goes around and you can hop on and off.
Oh my heck.
So anyway, and she's like, I don't even know how. And she says, but listen, if you do that and you really do this, will you call me and tell me how you did it? And I never called her back. But anyway, long story short, I booked we stayed in almost 500 VRBOs. I've got all my stats, millions of, miles flown, hundreds of thousands of miles driven, almost 70 countries now with South Africa and Turkey that we just added. So I feel qualified. Right. And that's what I'm going to talk about in that channel. I love it. I'm passionate about it. I want to help people. And so you're going to have access to me once a month on a live and then all through the month on different things. And then finances, same thing. So say you're in there and you're in my channel and you're subscribed, you can say, hey, Rick, I need help paying off credit card debt. And I can say, oh, that's a good one. I'm going to talk this Zoom meeting on how to pay off credit card debt. And I'll spend an hour on that. And that's what this is going to be. Professionals or people experienced in their field talking about mountain biking. How do you set up a bike? How do you, what are some trails to go ride in the Western United States? How to set up a bow for archery, for just shooting. It's like, it doesn't have to be hunting. I have lots of friends who shoot bows just because they love shooting bows or shooting guns at targets. My wife's father, his passion is target shooting. So anyway,
just the chance to give back because we all had to learn from somebody.
Exactly.
I've learned from my father passed away, so I learned from all my older brothers and my uncles that took us hunting.
Yep.
We get a chance to teach other people.
Yep.
Our passions as well.
Golf.
And other people get
You could probably talk about
fishing.
golf all day long.
Absolutely.
Right? You love it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this is it's a way in.
Yeah.
It's like, I wanted to
We
go
can give
golf.
back, but we can also learn other people's professions and what they're passionate about.
And no
as well.
judging.
This company can morph and grow into so many different avenues and get a chance to learn so many different things.
Absolutely.
And
we want him.
We
want him.
I tell people all the time, if you think of something that you like to do outdoors that we aren't covering, let us know.
Yeah.
We'll try to put it together.
Ricky has one that is geocaching.
Oh, yeah.
He has a guy, right? You knew a guy who... Coach Steve,
Yeah.
who set up hundreds of geocaches, and my brother's into it.
Yeah.
And,
it is, a lot of people are into it.
Yeah, and I don't even know what it is. I know that it's like there's these little boxes hidden around the world.
Yeah.
And you find them and you take an item out and put an item in or something. Is that kind of the gist of it?
Yeah.
I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think finding it is the
fun.
biggest thing.
Yeah.
I don't,
I found him elk hunting.
oh,
I was actually elk hunting in Penguich and saw like this ammo box on a tree. And I'm like, whoa, cool. Like an old Pioneer, thing that's probably going to be worth money. And I open up and there's like a troll doll and a couple bullets and, just stuff that people had in their pockets, like random
Yeah.
stuff. And it says, take something, leave something is what the note said. And that's where I found out about it. But that's what I mean. Like you're
That's
saying.
a whole community. I know that. Like, there's a
Exactly.
lot of people get into it.
Exactly. And that's where I think that this can go so many places because a lot of people are at home. They're bored. They don't know what they like. They don't know what they want to do.
they don't have any friends.
They don't, yeah. And they don't know how, and they don't
Truly,
know.
like, there's a lot of-
Truly. And they don't know how to get into it. That's the
Right.
biggest thing I hear with like bow hunting is they're like, where do I start?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's easy. Like, what are you talking about? And then I'm like, okay, how do I get into geocaching? Well, I don't know. And so it's all relative on what you know and what you're comfortable with. But we're gonna have a geocaching professional expert. We got to find him. We don't have one now, but if anybody out there listening knows geocaching, and like you said, any other outdoor adventure, spearfishing, surfing, rappelling. I mean, I don't. What am I missing? There's 35 of them.
Gosh, there's so
Ricky,
many.
you know them better than I do. Name some of them. Trail running. That's a huge one. Trail running. Not cycling, mountain, and that's not just mountain biking, right? That
Yeah.
can be on the road.
That's usually that's
Horse
what
riding.
cycling is
Yeah,
on the
that's
road.
true.
Self-defense, sailing,
Self-defense,
yeah.
sailing. What?
product rating.
What?
Rating products.
Oh yeah, that's going to be in the individual. So yeah, basically within the channels. That isn't going to be its own channel, but that will be within. So product rating. So that's a huge one.
Oh.
So like say archery, right? I want to get into archery. Gina does this with travel. She was sponsored, whatever you want to say. She had all these people send us like strollers and backpacks and stuff that they wanted us to test while we traveled. And so she can tell somebody, buy this stroller. It has big wheels. It'll go through the cobblestone streets. It folds up. It can be a carry-on. But that type of stuff, right? Where
That's funny because I was in London. I was dragging my carry-on.
yeah, it's
With
a
those
nightmare.
little wheels?
It's a
That's
nightmare.
the first thing I thought of when he
It's
said,
actually-
he said, we got to be a
It's
tourist.
actually illegal in Venice. They
Oh,
banned
really?
rolling luggage in Venice because
Dude, I'm dragging behind me and it's a and
yeah,
I
we're
get it.
looking like
Yeah.
we were
Who's
so
the
tourists.
tourist dragging,
Yeah,
his luggage down the cobblestone
banned it.
streets of London?
I
Yeah.
needed those big wheels.
yeah, they banned it in Venice just like last year or the year before because imagine 1,000 cruise ship people get off and roll. And I've been there. We stayed there for a few weeks in Venice, and we stayed in this little clock tower. It was absolutely adorable. And you could go up on the roof and sit there and, have dinner or whatever. And we'd be setting up there back in the day, and it's like,
We should invent shoulder straps.
yeah, and they do.
To
They have
Venice.
them.
Oh, okay, so you can actually strap it to your luggage.
Yep. So now people have
If it are-
backpacks.
Dang it, I
If it
missed
already
out.
has,
Yeah.
if it already has a name, it's already been invented.
yeah, yeah. They
we
put.
should
They
invent
put.
shoulder straps.
Yeah. Well, he meant on luggage.
On luggage, because you have
But
to-
yeah, but yeah, they
pick it
have
up.
it. So people are like, "Oh, now I can't roll it. I got to carry it." And so, but again, that's where we're gonna have
It's called
not
a backpack.
yeah. That's again where we're gonna have product reviews, so that you can say, because if I went to you and said, "Hey, I want to golf," you'd be like, "Don't buy this club.
Right.
Don't use these balls."
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Don't buy new clubs. Go
What?
buy used clubs and
Yep.
beat the heck out of them and learn the game, and then go
And
buy
look
the
for this
clubs that
brand.
work
Look
for
for
you.
this
Yeah.
brand. These three brands are better brands. They're
Right.
not going to break on you as much. They're not going to whatever they do. And so that's Ricky. That's a great one that we're going to have these reviews in every channel to where, because I don't know how to review mountain biking equipment. I don't even know what it is, but we're going to have a guy in there and he's going to bring in all of his stuff. And so I'm excited about it. Again, it's brand new. We're launching it on Sunday. Soft launch. It's free. Come in, help us grow it. We're asking for your input, your, basically we're going to build it with you for the next 90. We've been working on it for 8 months. We've got it a lot, but over the next 90 days, we're even going to do more. And then in December, we're going to, hard launch it and start charging for it. And I guarantee the value will be there. I've already done some coaching with people last year. I did coaching for 8 people, financial coaching, and I would say all of them would say that it was worth. I didn't charge, so it was worth the freeness. But we're not talking about a lot here. We're talking about maybe $100 a month. I'm trying to keep it as low as possible, but we are trying to keep it as low as possible. But I can guarantee that whatever the value I put on it and what we charge will be more than worth it. I guarantee that. And if it's not, we'll give you your money back and you can leave. Honestly, I have no problem standing behind that. So, anyway, so we're excited. You guys,
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys have anything more you want to add as we wrap up here? Our podcast. I think we should do this again maybe at the end of the year. Maybe see if we can get Nick and Ryan in on it and just kind of talk about the whole year in review, how the Genesis is going, and all that kind of stuff would be great. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add at all?
We should have Woody do his own podcast about his life experiences.
Yeah.
And have Woody tell stories.
Yeah.
Because between both of you, I'm always just a fly on the wall, listening to all your hilarious stories.
Yeah, he's been on a couple, man. He's good. I love having Woody on. He's, definitely entertaining. So yeah, we'll have to do more.
Okay.
All right, guys. We'll appreciate you coming on. We'll wrap this up again. Anybody listening out there, please like, share, follow, tag us, whatever you will do to go rate our podcast, listen to our podcast, share the word, tell people about the Genesis. Please, we need your support, and this won't grow without the help of others. And I know that it's a good thing. I know the world needs it. So please help us get this message out there to more people and change lives.
Yeah, well, give us an opportunity to give back and just help us do it, or show us how we can do it better.
And that's the thing, is we're not in this for the money.
Right.
We're not. I'll tell people that. We are all successful in our construction businesses. I don't have to work, and I haven't for 8 years. I am genuinely here, and I know you guys are here to try to help people, try to get them hobbies, get them friendships, bring value and depth into their life and happiness and joy. And this isn't for men. This isn't for women. This isn't, this is for everybody. This isn't a men's community. This isn't a women's community. This is for men, women, families. We're going to be doing father and son events. We're going to be doing mommy-daughter events, dad and daddy-daughter events, mother and son events, family events. I want to look at doing like single events, singles events where people can come and meet each other. I've got big plans, but we need support. We need people to listen, follow, like, download, sign up. We need help, or it's just us talking in a room right now, right? So thank you for everybody listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so there you have it. There's my episode with Spencer and Woody. I was excited to have them on. I've had Woody on before. Haven't had Spencer on. We call him Spin. And I've been wanting to have those guys both on. Spencer has been a partner of mine in business for 13 or 14 years. He was my first partner in business, and just a great person. And I've been wanting to get him on and get his perspective on M42, and as well as Woody. We haven't talked about these experiences and what they meant to us. So you guys got to hear, what we experienced, what it meant to us, why we started M42 Adventures. And so just a great conversation, great people. You get to know the team a little bit and kind of who we are, what makes us tick. So I appreciate them making their way to the studio. I know they're both very, very busy. We were actually trying to get another of our partners in, Nick, and he is just so slammed right now in our construction businesses that he just couldn't make it. So we missed out on him, but we'll get him on the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. Please like, share, follow, all of those good things. And pay attention. We got the Genesis opening up on September 1st. Again, it's free for September, October, and November. And we're excited for that. So sign up for newsletters and make sure that you get in there when it launches. Also, just a heads up, we have the 2025 experiences that are going to be launching here in the next, probably going to launch one every couple weeks for the next couple months. We've got Utah, Hawaii, Alaska, Africa, Costa Rica, UTV, overnighter, horses, overnighter. So we're adding a few new experiences to the lineup, and we actually have a waiting list now. So we've had people reach out, and so I think these are going to go faster, a lot faster than last year. And so if you want to come and be involved in some of these, please pay attention. Please get on the newsletter and don't miss out. So hopefully we'll meet you in 2025, shake hands, have some good conversations, get you to experience some new things, and get you outside your comfort zones and make some new friendships. So M42 Adventures podcast, signing off. Appreciate you guys listening. Thank you so much and have a great day.